She did what so many others failed to do when they should have. She did it. I had to have a moment, okay, guys? It's such a shame that such a beautiful cover would be wasted on such just a meh book. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Pint Sized Reader. I'm Abigail and today we are going to be doing our January wrap up. This month was actually a really good reading month in terms of just the amount of books that I read and the quality. I read 11 books this month. Don't expect this every month. This was the exception. I normally read maybe 5 books a month, but I think it's because I've been really getting into audiobooks lately, and so some books came from that, and also I read just a couple online on a whim. Yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first book that I read in the month of January was Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis, and this book I gave 3 stars, but I think I'm being a little too generous. I think it might be like a 2.5 for me. This is definitely the worst book that I read this month. Just started at 2020 on a real high note. So this book follows a competition to find the next headliner for the Conquering Circus, and it follows 3 main characters. There is Kalia, who is the showgirl who's determined to win this competition. There is DeMarco, who is the brooding judge who has a very dark and tragic past that he is trying to kind of run away from. And then there's Jack, the enigmatic keeper of the club from which Kalia has run away from. As the competition is going along, some mysterious things start happening and there are many dangers that are lurking behind the scenes. First of all, I really like the writing. I thought it was very atmospheric and just, well, it had that very magical feel to it. One of my main gripes with this book was that the intrigue and the impending danger was so vague. There'd be like some random bell tolling that hadn't rung in like 250 years, or there was like some weird things happening with some mirrors, or like a lot of birds. Do you see what I mean here? Like the danger was all very vague, and by the end of the book you don't even really know what this danger is. It's just there, but you don't know anything about it or why it's there. And also the plot, it just didn't feel like it started until like 3/4 of the way through, and this entire book just felt like it was the setup for the sequel, which is coming out this year sometime. I'm pretty sure they have a cover already. And for a book that was supposed to be centering around this competition, it didn't really show much of that, and what there was of a competition, come on guys, it wasn't really a competition at all. It was just Kalia dominating the entire time, which I'm not complaining about, but like it's a competition and there was none. For the record, Eros, is that how you say his name? I don't even know. He carried the entire story. He was the only thing that kept me reading. And I liked the romance actually. I thought the romance was very cute, a nice slow burn. But yeah, and now that I'm saying all these gripes out loud, I think it might be like a 2.5. I'm sorry. So the next book that I read was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and this was actually my very first Christina Lauren book. I read this one on audiobook, and this book follows this girl, Olive, who she likes to think of herself as highly unlucky, and her twin sister, Amy, is very lucky. She actually got her entire wedding for free from just raffles and contests and stuff like that. And so when Amy's entire wedding party gets food poisoning from the free seafood buffet, because you know, just free seafood buffet, that sounds like a good idea, except for Olive and the groom's brother. What is his name? Oh my god, Ethan and the groom's brother Ethan. Amy insists that they take the honeymoon together instead of Amy and her groom. But the problem is that Olive and Ethan quite honestly despise each other, and once they get to the resort, they discover that they're gonna have to pretend to be married because they discover that Olive's new boss and Ethan's ex-girlfriend is coincidentally at the same resort in Hawaii. So we've got the fake dating, we've got enemies to lovers, you know, right up my alley. And you know, it was. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was very cute. I loved the banter. It was very funny and enjoyable for me to listen to. It was very fade to black, so if you like very graphic smut scenes, this is not really, I don't know, maybe you still like it, but if you like your smut scenes graphic, this wasn't it, just FYI. And I liked the third act conflict because you always gotta have one in a romance. They can't just be happy. They can't. I liked that the third act conflict was focusing on something that was kind of an outside factor rather than something internal, because I feel like when the third act conflicts in a romance is like very internal and inside the two relationships, it just doesn't really work for me all the time. Like, it just feels unnecessary sometimes based on like the character's arc in that book. So I liked that the conflict was kind of like an external thing. So the next book was Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab, which is the sequel to this Savage Song. And I'm obviously not going to give you a description of Dark Duet, but I will tell you about this Savage Song. And that book follows Kate and August, who are the son and the daughter of the two leaders of these opposite sides of this city. And in this city, there are 3 kinds of monsters that are kind of created from humans' sins and their actions. There is the Corsai, Maokai, and the Sunai. And Corsai feed off of flesh, Maokai off of blood, and Sunai off of souls. And August is actually a Sunai monster who really, he's just the sweetest soul. He wants to be human. He does not want to hurt anyone. So there's a lot of internal conflict going on there. And then there is Kate, who is a human, but she wants to be vicious. She wants to be cruel and earn the love and respect of her father. So then the two meet and they are set up on a journey to save their city from ruin. And I already had this spoiled for me because me being the smart girl that I am, I clicked on the, show spoiler in a Goodreads review, expecting not to be spoiled. And I got spoiled. Who would have thunk? Anyways, I give this book 4 stars. I just really enjoyed being back in this world. I loved this Savage Song. I gave it 5 stars. It was everything to me. I did not enjoy this one as much. I ate it up, however. It's 500 pages? Almost. It's almost 500 pages, and I just flew through it. I loved being back in this world with these characters that I loved so much, but I did have a few problems with it. Kate and August were both very different than where we left off in the first book. They're a lot darker, and I don't mind this at all. I didn't like that this kind of change took place between the 2 books, and you didn't get to see that change. And I think it would have worked better if you actually had gotten to see this change in them. And then there were a lot of side characters that were introduced, so many that we were just supposed to care about, but they got 5 pages of screen time. And then we're supposed to care about them, Miss Schwab, no ma'am. Yeah, I thought it was action-packed, it was very introspective, gorgeous writing. Miss Schwab done it again. She done it again. Great villains. Normally, I'm not super scared of the villains. I'm genuinely terrified of Sloane and Alice. That is credit to Miss Schwab. Amen. And that ending, Miss Ma'am had the nerve. And I applaud her for that. She did what so many others fail to do when they should have. She did it. Are we mad at her? Yeah. Do we still respect her? Absolutely. So that's that. Next book that I read was AOC, The Fearless Rise and Powerful Resonance of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I didn't give this one a rating because it's a collection of essays, but I was just feeling very politically charged after the events of January 6th. And so I decided to pick this one up just because I was in it. I was in the politics headspace, y'all. So yeah, it was just a collection of essays. I liked some more than others. So I thought I'd just read you some of my favorite quotes because I marked just a couple. There were more than this. I went through it with a highlighter, but rather than speak for anyone, Ocasio-Cortez has, time and again, used her power and position to amplify their voices. She's taken up and held space so that others may join her in it. It shouldn't be surprising that a culture founded on genocide and forced assimilation would consider a woman of color's refusal to mispronounce her own name for a white people's benefit an act of defiance. Americans who demand every name be made easy for them resent the bit of effort it takes to just listen harder. They feel entitled to a comfort made possible only by oppressing others. She reminds us all, especially women, of that feeling that simply being young and emergent is a force enough to change the world, or enough to have a shot at changing it. AOC dares to not seek approval. Rather, she seeks justice. Women like this exist despite the socialization of girlhood/womanhood that teaches and rewards meekness and deference. Women like this exist despite constantly being told to simmer down and stay in their lanes. Women like this cannot be contained. Next book that I read was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. As you can see, this was actually my first go at annotating a book, and it was a fun time. I very much enjoyed it, and I think I'm definitely going to do it some more on some other books in the future. But I gave this book 5 stars. Do I really need to explain what this book's about? No, I don't. You know. And if you don't, go look it up. And after that, check it out at your local library. I love this book. Quite simply, it is just, it's so gorgeous. I think it is tied for my favorite classic. Well, maybe it's tied with Little Women. Yeah, I think it might flip-flop depending on the day you ask me whether my favorite is Pride and Prejudice or Little Women. But I just love everything about this book. The commentary, the wit, the romance. Perfection. Miss Austen. Yes. Period. So the next book that I read was Tweet Cute. I listened to this on an audiobook and I gave this book 4 stars. So this book follows Pepper, who is kind of just the all-around perfectionist star student. You know, her family may be falling apart while their fast food restaurant chain is booming, but hey, as long as she's perfect, she can hold this family together. And it also follows Jack, who is permanently stuck in his twin brother Ethan, right? I think it's Ethan. His twin brother Ethan's shadow and the thorn in Pepper's side. And his family also runs a small deli. One day it is discovered that Pepper's family's restaurant has stolen Jack's family's secret grilled cheese recipe. And so sparks an all-out Twitter war where Jack and Pepper, who each run their family's Twitter accounts, are going at each other online. They don't know who the other one is, but at the same time, they are also becoming friends and a little more in real life. I thought this book was super cute. I related to Pepper so much. Like, y'all have no idea how much I related to her, but I liked Jack. I loved Jack. If Jack was a real person, y'all best bet I would be writing in my diary about him. Our names would be going in that heart together. And that one scene where Jack was holding back Pepper's hair while she was y'all, I don't think you understand. I had to pause the audiobook first. I had to have a moment, okay, guys? I also really loved that this book added in the pop culture references without it being cringy, because I feel like when books do that, it's so often it ends up just being weird. Like, I don't like it normally, but I feel like because basically the entire premise of this book was pop culture and social media, that it worked. It really worked. You know, my only critique was that the plot was kind of all over the place, but it wasn't bothering me. I wasn't complaining. Next book that I read is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And first, can we talk about how amazing of a paperback this is? Look at that. Thank you, used bookstore. So Daisy Jones and the Six follows the lives and the uprising of this rock and roll band in the 1970s, Daisy Jones and the Six. And, you know, it just kind of follows the drama that happens, and there's a lot of exploration of addiction. There's also some feminist tone. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I went into it a little skeptical because I know that everybody loves this book, and it's got the little Reese Witherspoon seal of approval. I was literally hooked from the first page. This story is just so addictive, and I absolutely love the way that it was told in this kind of interview format, and the plot twist at the end. Oh, I love that there were like these little details that made the way the story is told just so authentic and believable. Like there were points where like the different accounts of events were slightly different, and you had to think, well, who do I believe more? Which account seems more likely? And just gorgeous, stunning. So the next books I read completely on a whim. I was just sitting at my father's house all bored, and I was like, you know what? Let's take advantage of this free trial of Scribd that I have right now that's about to expire in like 2 weeks. Let's just take advantage of it right now before I create another free trial on a different email account. And so I read the graphic novels Fence Volume 1 through 3. They didn't have Volume 4 on Scribd, which is highly disappointing. I don't really have a lot of thoughts about it. I didn't give them a rating just because I read them just for enjoyment. I wasn't really looking for anything. I was just sitting there reading, but I did thoroughly enjoy these books. Do I care about fencing? Absolutely not. Not in the slightest. But did I care about these graphic novels? Absolutely, I did. But yeah, just the diversity, the artwork, the tension, the like little romantic undertones. Gorgeous, perfection, stunning, flawless. And the last book that I read in January, I also read this one on Libby in an audiobook, and that was The Trials of Morrigan Crow. And this is the first middle grade that I have read in a long time. Like at least a couple of years, maybe 3, I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. So this book is about Morrigan Crow, and she is a cursed child. So she is destined to die on her 11th birthday. But on the night of her birthday, she is swept off to a magical land called Nevermoor by the whimsical and eccentric Jupiter North. And from there, she is entered in the trials to become a member of the Wonder Society and finally have a home and a place where she belongs, like she's always dreamed of. I thought this book was such a cute, magical, and whimsical story. I absolutely loved the world building of it. Like there were just these little things in this world that made it feel like it was like an actual world that like possibly like could exist. Like it had its own traditions, and there's this cool thing where like during Christmas you either side with Nick or you side with the Yule Queen, and it's like this battle and like you take sides, and I thought that was just so cute. I couldn't tell you what I found was wrong with it and why it wasn't a 5-star read, but it might have been a me problem because I did accidentally keep falling asleep during in the middle of chapters because I listened to audiobooks before going to sleep, and so that might have created some like disconnect between me and the story because I didn't bother to go back and re-listen to those chapters that I fell asleep during, but you know, that's just a me problem. So yeah, that was everything that I read in January. It was surprisingly an amazing month in terms of reading. And you know, I'm really looking forward to a great February. I'm not going to be posting a February TBR just because I'm doing kind of some secret TBRs, so I don't want to like spoil my video plans for February. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you read in January and really enjoyed, or maybe rant about some ones that you didn't enjoy. I love a good rant. Let me tell you, I love a good rant. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, whatever floats your boat. And if you want to be constantly updated on everything that I'm reading, make sure to follow my Goodreads linked down in this description below. And that's it, everybody. Bye bye.